The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly before Earth's defense fleet. Stars twinkled in the distance as Admiral Park watched the unknown vessel approach from his position on the bridge of the EF's Vigilant. His weathered hands gripped the armrests of his command chair, betraying the tension he felt despite his calm exterior. The crew worked silently at their stations, each person acutely aware of the historical significance of this moment. The alien ship was unlike anything humanity had ever seen or built. Its crystalline surface caught and reflected the sun's rays, creating a dazzling display of light that made it look like a massive diamond drifting through space. The sight was a stark contrast to the practical, utilitarian design of Earth's steel-gray warships that formed a protective screen around their home planet. "Sir, the vessel is maintaining its current speed and trajectory," reported Lieutenant Choi from the tactical station. "No signs of weapons charging or shields being raised." Park nodded, his eyes never leaving the main view screen. After decades of searching the stars for signs of intelligent life, humanity's first contact was about to happen. The tension on the bridge could be cut with a knife as everyone waited to see if this meeting would end in peace or conflict. The alien ship came to a complete stop just outside the defensive perimeter Earth had established around their solar system. For several long moments, nothing happened. Then, the communications officer's console lit up with an incoming transmission. "Admiral, we're receiving a message on all frequencies," announced Captain Ba, her fingers dancing across her console. It's in perfect English, sir." "Put it through," Park ordered, straightening in his chair. The voice that filled the bridge was melodious and clear. "Greetings, people of Earth. We come in peace and friendship, seeking alliance with your world. We are the Aldarians." The simple greeting sent ripples of amazement through the bridge crew. Not only were they being contacted by an alien species, but they were doing so in flawless English. Park exchanged glances with his executive officer before responding. "This is Admiral Park of the Earth Defense Fleet. We welcome your peaceful approach. How is it you know our language?" "We have been observing your world from afar," the voice replied. "We wanted to ensure our first contact would be as comfortable as possible for your species. Would you be willing to meet with our ambassador?" After securing approval from Earth's united government, arrangements were made for the historic meeting. The Aldarian ambassador arrived on the Vigilant in a shower of crystalline light, their method of transportation as advanced as it was beautiful. Ambassador Han, as he introduced himself, was a being composed entirely of living crystal. His form was roughly humanoid, but his body seemed to shift and flow like liquid glass, refracting light in mesmerizing patterns. Most surprisingly, he radiated a sense of warmth and friendliness that everyone in the room could feel. "We are empaths," Han explained, noting their reaction. "We can sense and project emotions. It is both our gift and our burden." The initial meeting lasted for hours as Han shared information about his people and the greater galactic community. However, his expression grew solemn when the topic of the Galactic Council arose. "You must understand," Han said, his crystalline form dimming slightly. "The Council is not what it appears to be. They present themselves as a unified governing body promoting peace and cooperation among species. In reality, they are corrupt oligarchs who demand absolute conformity from all member species." Park listened intently as Han described how the Council had systematically stripped away the independence of countless civilizations under the guise of standardization and unity. Those who refused to conform faced severe consequences. "Your civilization reminds us so much of what we once were," Han continued, his form brightening slightly. "Free, innovative, unbound by their restrictive laws. We see in humanity the same spirit that the Council has tried to crush in so many others." The ambassador's form shifted, creating a holographic display of various Council atrocities. Worlds stripped of their resources, cultures erased, and species forced to abandon their unique characteristics to fit the Council's approved template. "This is why we have come to Earth first," Han explained. "We offer you our friendship and our technology. Together, we might be strong enough to resist what is coming. The Council will not ignore Earth forever, and when they notice you, they will demand your submission. And if we stand with you? Park asked carefully. Han's crystalline form pulsed with warmth. Then you will have allies who will fight beside you, share their knowledge with you, and help prepare you for what lies ahead. We can learn from each other, grow stronger together. The Admiral stood and approached the crystalline being. I will need to discuss this with my superiors, but know that Earth does not abandon those who offer friendship in good faith. Han's form brightened considerably. That is all we ask. A chance to forge a true alliance based on mutual respect and support. Together, perhaps we can show the galaxy that there is another way besides the Council's path of forced conformity. As the initial meeting concluded, Park couldn't help but feel that humanity had just taken its first step into a much larger universe. The path ahead would be challenging, but the promise of friendship with the Aldarians offered hope for a future where Earth could stand proud among the stars. The news of the peaceful first contact spread rapidly across Earth, bringing with it a wave of excitement and apprehension. Humanity had dreamed of this moment for centuries, but now that it had arrived, they faced not only the wonder of meeting new allies, but also the shadow of a looming threat. The age of Earth's isolation was over, and the time had come to prepare for their role in a much larger conflict than they had ever imagined. Commander Kim stood at attention in the communications center of Earth's primary defense station, his face illuminated by the harsh blue glow of the holographic display. The message had arrived without warning, interrupting routine communications across every channel. The figure that materialized before him was tall and imposing, with features that seemed almost artificially perfect. High Counselor Ray of the Galactic Council. Your species has been found in violation of Council Directive 7249. Ray's voice filled the room, carrying a tone of authority that barely masked his contempt. You harbor criminals and share restricted technologies with known rebels. The Aldarians are a condemned species. Cut ties with these rebels immediately, or face the consequences of defying Council law. Kim's fists clenched at his sides as he listened to the threat veiled as diplomacy. 6 months had passed since first contact with the Aldarians, 6 months of friendship and incredible advances for humanity. The Aldarians had shared medical technology that cured diseases thought incurable, energy systems that could power entire cities without pollution, and defensive systems that had strengthened Earth's security tenfold. High Counselor, Kim responded, keeping his voice steady despite his anger. I will relay your message to the United Earth government. However, I must inform you that Earth does not recognize the Council's authority over our sovereign decisions. The hologram's perfect features twisted into a sneer. You have 72 Earth hours to comply. The Council's patience is not infinite. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the room in tense silence. Within hours, emergency meetings were called across the globe. The United Earth government convened in their underground chamber in Geneva, with President Lee taking his place at the central podium. The chamber was packed with representatives from every nation, and screens showed the faces of millions watching the broadcast worldwide. Ambassador Han stood beside the president, his crystalline form dimmed with concern. We understand if Earth must protect itself, he said, his voice carrying through the chamber. The Council's retribution can be severe. We will not hold it against you if you choose to sever ties. President Lee turned to face the Aldarian ambassador, his expression resolute. Ambassador Han, in the 6 months since your arrival, you have shown nothing but friendship to humanity. You warned us about the Council's true nature. You shared your knowledge freely, asking only for alliance in return. Would you abandon us if our positions were reversed? The crystalline being's form brightened slightly. No, we would stand with you, as we do now. Lee nodded and turned to address the assembly. Members of the United Earth government, we face a choice today. We can bow to threats and abandon our allies, or we can stand firm in our principles. The Council demands we betray those who have helped us, who have trusted us. They expect us to prove their belief that younger species can be bullied into submission. The chamber was silent as Lee continued, his voice growing stronger. But they don't understand humanity. Throughout our history, we have faced threats and ultimatums. Those who sought to rule through fear have always discovered that threats do not cow us. They unite us. Park's jaw tightened as he processed this information. The gift of advanced technology would be invaluable to Earth's development, but the prospect of facing a hostile galactic power was sobering. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly as Lee moved to the central voting platform. I propose an immediate formal alliance with the Eldarian people, not just technological exchange, but a full military and cultural partnership. Let the Council threaten. Humanity will not abandon its friends to tyranny. The voting was swift and unprecedented. Unanimous approval from every nation on Earth. As the results were displayed, cheers erupted throughout the chamber and in gatherings across the planet. Over the next 48 hours, Earth and the Eldarians worked tirelessly to strengthen their position. Eldarian engineers helped install advanced shield systems around major cities. Human military vessels were quickly upgraded with crystalline technology that would give them a fighting chance against Council weapons. Commander Kim watched from his station as the deadline approached. The combined fleet of human and Eldarian ships formed a protective screen around Earth, their surfaces gleaming in the sunlight. The sight of the two very different designs working together filled him with pride. When High Counselor Ray's hologram appeared again, Kim was ready. The Council leader didn't bother with pleasantries this time. Your time has expired. What is Earth's response? Kim activated a prepared transmission, and President Lee's face appeared alongside his own. High Counselor, I speak for all of humanity. We reject your ultimatum. The Eldarians are our friends and allies. Any action against them will be considered an action against Earth itself. Ray's perfect features contorted with rage. You doom yourselves. The Council will not tolerate this defiance. No, High Counselor, Lee replied calmly. You doom yourself if you think threats will break this alliance. Humanity knows the difference between order and oppression, between leadership and tyranny. We choose to stand with those who share our values of freedom and mutual respect. The transmission ended with Ray's face twisted in fury. In the silence that followed, Kim turned to President Lee's hologram. Do you think they'll attack? Eventually, Lee answered grimly. But thanks to our allies, we'll be ready. The Council wanted to catch us isolated and weak. Instead, they'll face humanity and the Eldarians united and strong. As the Earth's defense forces moved to high alert, Kim couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Humanity had faced its first galactic test, not with fear or submission, but with courage and loyalty. Whatever came next, they would face it together with their Eldarian allies. The stars seemed to shine brighter that night, as if approving of humanity's choice. The time of Earth's isolation was truly over, replaced by a new age of alliance and determination. The Council would soon learn that threatening humanity was a grave mistake, one they would come to regret. Captain Song stood on the bridge of the EFS Thunderchild, watching her crew run through standard combat drills in the distant Kuiper Belt. The joint human-Eldarian fleet had spread out across the solar system for their annual war games, testing their readiness against simulated Council attacks. Her ship's crystalline enhancements glinted under the dim light of the distant sun. "Ma'am, we're picking up some unusual readings," Lieutenant Kang called out from the sensor station, his voice carrying a note of concern. "Massive energy spikes coming from Eldarian space. They're off the charts." Song rushed to the sensor display, her heart dropping as she saw the readings. The energy signatures were unlike anything they had encountered before. "Get me a direct line to Fleet Command. Now." But even as her crew scrambled to establish communications, she knew they were too far away. The Kuiper Belt was at the edge of the solar system, days away from the nearest Eldarian colony, even at maximum speed. The first distress calls started coming in moments later. Ambassador Han's voice, usually so melodious and calm, was filled with terror. "Earth Fleet, please respond." The Council. They came without warning. Their weapons. They're breaking us apart. Our children. They're targeting our children first. Som watched in helpless horror as the sensor readings painted a picture of systematic destruction. The Council had developed weapons specifically designed to shatter the crystalline structure of the Aldarians. They weren't just killing them. They were erasing them from existence. "All ships, emergency acceleration," Som ordered, her voice cracking. "Redirect all power to the engines. We have to reach them." Park's jaw tightened as he processed this information. The gift of advanced technology would be invaluable to Earth's development, but the prospect of facing a hostile galactic power was sobering. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly as Lee moved to the central voting platform. "I propose an immediate formal alliance with the Aldarian people. Not just technological exchange, but a full military and cultural partnership. Let the Council threaten. Humanity will not abandon its friends to tyranny." The voting was swift and unprecedented. Unanimous approval from every nation on Earth. As the results were displayed, cheers erupted throughout the chamber and in gatherings across the planet. Over the next 48 hours, Earth and the Aldarians worked tirelessly to strengthen their position. Aldarian engineers helped install advanced shield systems around major cities. Human military vessels were quickly upgraded with crystalline technology that would give them a fighting chance against Council weapons. Commander Kim watched from his station as the deadline approached. The combined fleet of human and Aldarian ships formed a protective screen around Earth, their surfaces gleaming in the sunlight. The sight of the two very different designs working together filled him with pride. When High Counselor Ray's hologram appeared again, Kim was ready. The Council leader didn't bother with pleasantries this time. "Your time has expired. What is Earth's response?" Kim activated a prepared transmission, and President Lee's face appeared alongside his own. "High Counselor, I speak for all of humanity. We reject your ultimatum. The Aldarians are our friends and allies. Any action against them will be considered an action against Earth itself." Ray's perfect features contorted with rage. "You doom yourselves. The Council will not tolerate this defiance." "No, High Counselor," Lee replied calmly. "You doom yourself if you think threats will break this alliance. Humanity knows the difference between order and oppression, between leadership and tyranny. We choose to stand with those who share our values of freedom and mutual respect." The transmission ended with Ray's face twisted in fury. In the silence that followed, Kim turned to President Lee's hologram. "Do you think they'll attack?" "Eventually," Lee answered grimly. "But thanks to our allies, we'll be ready. The Council wanted to catch us isolated and weak. Instead, they'll face humanity and the Aldarians united and strong." As the Earth's defense forces moved to high alert, Kim couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Humanity had faced its first galactic test, not with fear or submission, but with courage and loyalty. Whatever came next, they would face it together with their Aldarian allies. The stars seemed to shine brighter that night, as if approving of humanity's choice. The time of Earth's isolation was truly over, replaced by a new age of alliance and determination. The Council would soon learn that threatening humanity was a grave mistake, one they would come to regret. Captain Song stood on the bridge of the EFS Thunderchild, watching her crew run through standard combat drills in the distant Kuiper Belt. The joint human-Aldarian fleet had spread out across the solar system for their annual war games, testing their readiness against simulated Council attacks. Her ship's crystalline enhancements glinted under the dim light of the distant sun. "Ma'am, we're picking up some unusual readings," Lieutenant Kang called out from the sensor station, his voice carrying a note of concern. "Massive energy spikes coming from Aldarian space. They're off the charts." Song rushed to the sensor display, her heart dropping as she saw the readings. The energy signatures were unlike anything they had encountered before. "Get me a direct line to Fleet Command." now. But even as her crew scrambled to establish communications, she knew they were too far away. The Kuiper Belt was at the edge of the solar system, days away from the nearest Aldarian colony, even at maximum speed. The first distress calls started coming in moments later. Ambassador Han's voice, usually so melodious and calm, was filled with terror. "Earth Fleet, please respond. The Council, they came without warning. Their weapons, they're breaking us apart. Our children, they're targeting our children first." Som watched in helpless horror as the sensor readings painted a picture of systematic destruction. The Council had developed weapons specifically designed to shatter the crystalline structure of the Aldarians. They weren't just killing them, they were erasing them from existence. "All ships, emergency acceleration," Som ordered, her voice cracking. "Redirect all power to the engines. We have to reach them." The Thunderchild's engines roared to life, pushing the ship to its limits. The Aldarian crystals integrated into the ship's systems pulsed with desperate energy, as if they too understood the urgency of their mission. More distress calls flooded the communications channels. Song forced herself to listen to each one, recording them as evidence of the Council's atrocity. The voices of dying Aldarians, their final moments spent warning others or saying goodbye to loved ones, would haunt her forever. "The nurseries. They're targeting the nurseries first," came one desperate transmission. "Our young ones are shattering. Please, someone help us." Ambassador Han's last transmission came 3 hours into their desperate race toward Aldarian space. "To our human friends, we do not regret our alliance. Remember us. Remember what the Council truly is. Do not let our deaths be in vain." The transmission cut off mid-word. When the Thunderchild finally arrived at the nearest Aldarian colony, Song could barely comprehend what she saw. Where great crystalline cities had once stood, reaching toward the stars like frozen rainbows, there were only fields of glittering dust. The aftermath of the Council's weapons had left the entire surface of the planet covered in a layer of shimmering particles, all that remained of millions of Aldarians. "Life signs?" Song asked, though she already knew the answer. "None, Captain," replied Lieutenant Kang, his voice hollow. "The Council's weapons, they didn't just kill them. They broke down their crystalline structure at the molecular level. There's nothing left to save." Song ordered her crew to collect samples of the debris. Each glittering particle had once been part of a living, thinking being. A child, a parent, a friend. Billions of Aldarians, reduced to cosmic dust in a matter of hours. The ship's Aldarian crystal enhancements dimmed to nearly black, as if mourning their lost kindred. The human crew worked in silence, many wiping away tears as they documented the devastation. "Captain," her communications officer called out, voice shaking, "we're receiving a transmission from the Council." The holographic image of High Counselor Ray appeared on the bridge, his perfect features set in an expression of smug satisfaction. "Let this serve as a lesson to all who would defy Council law. The Aldarian rebellion is ended. Earth would be wise to reconsider its position." Song stood from her chair, facing the hologram with cold fury. "You didn't end a rebellion, Counselor. You committed genocide. You murdered billions of innocent beings whose only crime was helping humanity." "We eliminated a threat to galactic stability," Ray replied dismissively. "Earth's time will come as well, unless you submit to Council authority now." "The only thing we'll submit is evidence of your war crimes," Song responded, her voice steady despite her rage. "You've shown the galaxy what you truly are, and I promise you, Earth will not forget. We will not forgive." As the hologram vanished, Song looked out at the glittering graveyard that had once been a thriving civilization. The Aldarians had trusted humanity with their friendship, shared their knowledge, and warned them about the Council's true nature. Now they had paid the ultimate price for that trust. "Set course for Earth," she ordered, her voice thick with emotion. "The Council wants us to learn a lesson from this massacre. And we will. But not the one they intended." As the Thunderchild turned away from the devastation, Song made a silent promise to the glittering remains of their allies. The Council had shown their true face to humanity, and in doing so had sealed their own fate. Earth would remember. Earth would respond. And the Council would learn that some lessons come with consequences they never anticipated. The field of crystalline dust sparkled one last time in the ship's wake, a final farewell from a civilization that had dared to stand against tyranny. Their sacrifice would not be in vain. Humanity would make sure of that. The silence in Earth's military command chamber was deafening as the footage played on the massive screen. Admiral Park watched the faces of his fellow commanders as they witnessed Captain Song's recordings of the massacre. The crystalline dust that had once been billions of living, breathing Aldarians sparkled in the starlight, a beautiful but horrifying testament to the Council's brutality. 3,417,000,000 Aldarians, Park said, his voice cutting through the silence. Men, women, children. Entire families erased in hours. The Council didn't just kill them. They tried to erase every trace of their existence. The assembled military leaders sat in stunned silence. Some had tears in their eyes, others showed barely contained rage. General Min, who had worked closely with Ambassador Han on defense projects, gripped her armrests so tightly her knuckles had turned white. "We knew this day might come," Park continued, his weathered face grim. "From the moment the Aldarians warned us about the Council's true nature, we began preparing. It's time to unveil Project Echo." He pressed a button on his console, and the horrific footage was replaced by a different set of images. Deep beneath the lunar surface, massive doors began to slide open, revealing vast underground hangars that stretched for kilometers. For the past 6 months, while we openly worked with the Aldarians on defensive technology, we secretly collaborated on something else, Park explained. Something the Council never anticipated. The camera feed showed row after row of ships unlike anything Earth had publicly revealed. They combined the sleek lines of human engineering with the crystalline beauty of Aldarian technology. But these weren't simply hybrid vessels. They were weapons of war. The Aldarians knew the Council might eventually strike at them, Park continued. They shared not just their defensive technology with us, but their most advanced weapons research, technology they had developed but never used, because their peaceful nature prevented them from taking the final steps. He pressed another button, and technical specifications began scrolling across the screen. Humanity had no such reservations. We took their research and combined it with our own military innovation. The result is Project Echo, a fleet of warships specifically designed to counter every advantage the Council believes they have. Admiral Cho leaned forward, studying the specifications. "These capabilities, they're beyond anything we've shown publicly." "Exactly," Park nodded. "The Council believes they know the extent of our technological advancement. They think they've measured our strength. They're wrong." He brought up another image, showing one of the Echo ships in detail. Its hull was a perfect fusion of human steel and Aldarian crystal, designed to absorb and redirect energy weapons. Its weapon systems could pierce Council shields as if they were paper, using principles the Aldarians had discovered but never weaponized. 150 ships, Park announced, each one capable of taking on 3 Council dreadnoughts simultaneously. They'd been hidden in these lunar bases, crews training in secret, waiting for the moment they might be needed. General Min finally spoke, her voice tight with emotion. "The Council will expect us to cower after their demonstration of power. They'll think we'll be too afraid to act." "That's their mistake," Park replied. "They don't understand humanity. They think fear will drive us to submission. Instead, it has only strengthened our resolve." He activated a final display, showing the Council's military deployment patterns. They've spread their forces thin, confident in their superiority. They don't expect retaliation. Not from us, not so soon. That's our advantage. The room erupted in discussion as military leaders began analyzing the strategic possibilities. Park let them talk, watching as their initial shock and grief transformed into determined fury. "The Council believes they've taught us a lesson about power," Park said, silencing the room. "It's time we teach them one about consequences. The Echo fleet will launch in 6 hours. Our mission is simple. We will make them pay for every Aldarian life they took." He looked around the room, meeting each commander's eyes. "They chose to make an example of our allies. Now we will make an example of them." The Council thought they were showing the galaxy what happens to those who defy them. Instead, they're about to learn what happens when you make an enemy of humanity. The vote was unanimous. Within hours, the Echo fleet would emerge from its lunar hiding place, ready to deliver humanity's response to the Council's atrocity. As the commanders filed out to prepare their forces, Park remained behind, looking at the final image of the Aldarian massacre. "We'll make it right, old friend," he whispered, thinking of Ambassador Han and all the others who had trusted Earth with their friendship. "The Council thought they were breaking us by destroying you. Instead, they've given us a reason to show the galaxy exactly what humanity is capable of when pushed too far." The lunar bases hummed with activity as crews rushed to their ships. The Echo fleet was about to reveal itself to the galaxy, and with it, humanity's true power. The Council had sown the wind with their massacre. They were about to reap the whirlwind. The Echo fleet moved through Council space like shadows among the stars. Colonel Yoon stood on the bridge of the EFS Silent Thunder, watching as his strike team's ships slipped past the Council's patrol routes. Their vessels, cloaked in hybrid technology that bent both light and sensor readings around them, were virtually undetectable. "Status report," Yoon commanded softly, though his quiet tone carried the weight of deadly purpose. "5 minutes to target, sir," Lieutenant Shin responded from the tactical station. "Council Defense Grid remains unaware of our presence. Their sensors are still trying to compensate for our crystal diffusion field." The target ahead was one of the Council's primary military installations, a massive space station that coordinated fleet movements across 3 sectors. Its destruction would throw Council forces into disarray, much like they had done to the Aldarian defense networks during their massacre. "All ships, prepare for synchronized strike," Yoon ordered through the fleet channel. "Remember your training. Remember why we're here." The strike team consisted of 15 Echo-class vessels, each one a perfect fusion of human ingenuity and Aldarian crystal technology. They moved in perfect formation, their crystalline components pulsing with barely contained energy. "Sir, receiving final target confirmation from Echo Command," reported Commander Nam. "Primary targets are their command center, power core, and communications array. Secondary targets are their fighter base and sensor stations." Yoon nodded, his expression grim. "Target their command and control centers first. Let them feel the same chaos our friends felt. The Council thought they knew fear when they murdered the defenseless. Let's show them what real fear feels like." The strike team split into 3 groups, each taking position around the massive station. The Council's supposedly impregnable defensive networks continued their regular sweep patterns, completely blind to the threat lurking just outside their perimeter. "Weapons hot," Yoon ordered. "Execute on my mark." The seconds ticked by intense silence. Then, mark. The Echo fleet opened fire simultaneously. Their weapons, crystalline accelerator cannons developed from Aldarian research, cut through the station's shields as if they weren't there. The Council's vaunted defensive technology, which had protected them for centuries, proved useless against weapons they never knew existed. Chaos erupted on the station. Emergency signals blazed to life as sections began depressurizing. The Council's response was immediate but disorganized. They had never faced an enemy that could match their technology, let alone surpass it. "Second wave, engage," Yoon commanded. "No mercy." The strike team's smaller vessels darted forward, targeting the station's fighter bays before their ships could launch. The precision of their attacks was surgical, each shot calculated to cause maximum damage with minimal waste of energy. "Sir, they're trying to send distress signals," Shin reported. Their standard channels are being blocked by our crystal interference, but they're attempting to use quantum entanglement communications. Let them call for help, Yoon replied coldly. By the time reinforcements arrive, we'll be gone, and they'll find nothing but wreckage, just like we found on the Aldarian colonies. The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted less than 15 minutes. When it was over, the mighty council station was nothing more than a floating hulk, its vital systems destroyed, its crew either dead or evacuated in escape pods. Broadcast on all frequencies, Yoon ordered. Let's make sure they understand. The message was simple and clear. This is humanity's response to your massacre of the Aldarians. You thought yourselves untouchable. You were wrong. We are coming for all of you. As his fleet prepared to jump to their next target, Yoon received word that other Echo Fleet strike teams were reporting similar successes across Council space. Their carefully planned campaign was proceeding exactly as intended. Sir, Nam called out, we're receiving reports from other sectors. The Council's forces are in complete disarray. They're trying to coordinate a response, but with their command and control networks being systematically destroyed. They're experiencing what the Aldarians felt. Yoon finished. Complete chaos. No way to call for help. No way to organize a defense. Just waiting for the next strike, never knowing where it will come from. The silent thunder's engines hummed as they prepared for their next jump. The Council had believed their technological superiority made them invincible. They had never imagined that humanity, working with Aldarian knowledge, could not only match their technology, but improve upon it in ways they had never considered. Set course for the next target, Yoon ordered. The Council wanted to teach the galaxy a lesson about power. We're going to teach them one about hubris. As his ships disappeared into the darkness of space, leaving behind the wreckage of yet another Council installation, Yoon thought about the fields of crystalline dust that had once been living Aldarians. The Council had sown destruction without thought of consequence. Now they would reap what they had sown, one installation at a time, until they understood the true cost of their actions. The hunt would continue, and the hunters would show no mercy to those who had shown none to their allies. The Council's capital world hung like a jewel against the darkness of space, its surface dotted with gleaming cities and orbital defense platforms. Vice Admiral Cho observed it from the bridge of the EFS Retribution, her expression hard as stone. After weeks of systematic strikes against Council military installations, the time had come for the final assault. Status of the enemy fleet? Cho asked, her eyes fixed on the massive display showing the Council's home system. 87 capital ships, over 200 support vessels, reported Captain Jin. They've recalled every available warship to defend their capital. They're desperate. Cho allowed herself a grim smile. The Council had spent the last month watching their military might crumble before an enemy they couldn't track or effectively fight against. Now they had gathered their remaining forces in one place, exactly as planned. All ships, this is Vice Admiral Cho, she broadcast to the assembled Echo fleet. The Council showed no mercy to our allies. Today, we show them none in return. Commence Operation Judgment. The Echo fleet emerged from their stealth positions like avenging angels, their hybrid hulls gleaming with deadly purpose. 300 ships, the full might of humanity's secret weapon, revealed themselves simultaneously around the Council's capital world. The Council's defense fleet responded immediately, but their formations were ragged, their tactics uncoordinated. Weeks of watching their supposedly superior technology fail against human weapons had shaken their confidence. Multiple signals from the surface, Jin announced. They're begging for terms. No quarter, Cho replied firmly. They gave none to the Aldarians. They received none from us. The battle erupted in earnest. The Echo fleet's crystalline weapons tore through Council shields like paper, while their own defenses, enhanced by Aldarian technology, easily repelled the Council's desperate counterattacks. From her command chair, Cho watched as decades of Council supremacy crumbled before humanity's righteous fury. Their mighty warships, once the terror of the galaxy, were being systematically dismantled by weapons they couldn't understand or counter. "Mom," Jin called out suddenly. Multiple ships launching from the surface. VIP signatures detected. High Counselor Ray and his inner circle are attempting to escape. Cho's response was immediate. "Commander Kim, your squadron is closest. Intercept those ships. Take them alive if possible. They need to answer for their crimes." Commander Kim's squadron, consisting of the fastest ships in the Echo Fleet, broke off from the main battle. Their vessels, streamlined and deadly, cut through space like arrows toward their prey. "This is for the Aldarians," Kim transmitted on all frequencies before opening fire. His weapon struck with surgical precision, disabling the Council ship's engines without destroying them completely. As the battle raged around the capital world, news spread quickly through Council space. The supposedly invincible Council fleet was being decimated by the very species they had tried to intimidate. The impact was immediate and far-reaching. "Ma'am, we're receiving reports from across Council space," Jin reported, excitement creeping into his voice. "Other species are rising up. The Novan Collective, the Saren Alliance. They're all attacking Council installations in their sectors." Centuries of oppression had created a powder keg of resentment throughout the galaxy. Humanity's successful resistance had provided the spark needed to ignite it. What had started as revenge for the Aldarians had become a galaxy-wide revolution. High Counselor Ray's face appeared on the main screen, his perfect features twisted with rage and fear. "You cannot do this. We are the Council. We are order. We are civilization. You are murderers," Cho replied calmly. "And today, you answer for your crimes, not just against the Aldarians, but against every species you've oppressed." The battle lasted less than 3 hours. When it was over, the Council's mighty defense fleet was nothing but debris orbiting their capital world. High Counselor Ray and his inner circle were in custody, their escape thwarted by Commander Kim's squadron. "Broadcast on all frequencies," Cho ordered. "Let everyone hear." She stood, facing the camera that would carry her image across Council space. "This is Vice Admiral Cho of the Earth Defense Force. The Council's reign of terror is over. To all species who have suffered under their rule, the time for freedom has come. Rise up. Take back what was stolen from you. Humanity stands with you." The response was immediate. Across the galaxy, subjugated species threw off their chains. Council loyalists found themselves overwhelmed as centuries of careful oppression crumbled in hours. "What do we do with them?" Kim asked, gesturing to the captured Council leaders. Cho's expression was stern. "They face justice. Not revenge, justice. We're not like them. They'll stand trial for their crimes, with representatives from every species they've wronged serving as judges." As the Echo Fleet secured the capital world, Cho looked at a small crystal she kept on her command console, a gift from Ambassador Han before the massacre. In its facets, she could almost see the reflection of a better future, one where no species would ever again face extinction for daring to be different. The Council had believed their power absolute, their authority unquestionable. They had never understood that true strength comes not from forcing others to submit, but from standing together against tyranny. Humanity had proved that today, and the galaxy would never be the same. Light filtered through the shattered dome of the former Council chambers, casting rainbow patterns across the gathered representatives. The once mighty hall, which had witnessed centuries of oppression, now held delegates from 100 worlds. They sat together, former oppressors and oppressed alike, united in their desire to build something new from the ashes of the old order. President Lee stood at the podium, where High Counselor Ray had once issued his imperious commands. But unlike the Council's cold grandeur, Lee's presence carried warmth and hope. Beside him stood Delegate Min, one of the few surviving Aldarians from a hidden enclave that had escaped the massacre. Min's crystalline form caught the light, sending bright reflections dancing across the chamber walls. Though diminished in numbers, the surviving Aldarians had chosen to help shape the future rather than seek revenge for their losses. The Council's leaders will face justice for their crimes, Lee began, his voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. But we are not here for revenge alone. We gather today to build something better, a true federation of equals. The assembled delegates murmured in agreement. Many of them still bore the scars of council rule, both physical and psychological. Yet here they were, choosing hope over hatred, construction over destruction. Our first act, Lee continued, must be to ensure that no species ever again faces extinction for daring to be different. The freedom to exist, to maintain one's culture and identity, these are not privileges to be granted by the powerful, but fundamental rights belonging to all sentient beings. Outside the chamber, construction crews were already at work. Where the Council's palace had once dominated the skyline, a new structure was taking shape, a memorial, built from crystals freely given by the surviving Aldarians, would rise into the sky. Within its transparent walls, the names of every Aldarian lost in the massacre would be preserved forever. This memorial, Delegate Min spoke, his crystalline voice resonating with emotion, will serve not only to remember those we lost, but to remind us of the price of tyranny. Every name etched in its surface represents a life cut short, a future denied, a dream undreamed. The delegates watched through the chamber's broken windows as crystal panels were carefully lifted into place. The memorial would change colors with the passing of the sun, each hue representing a different Aldarian colony that had been destroyed. Admiral Park, now white-haired and walking with a cane, stood among the observers. He remembered his first meeting with Ambassador Han, the hope and friendship offered freely to humanity. Though Han was among those lost in the massacre, his dream of a galaxy united in peace was finally becoming reality. The new Galactic Federation took shape over the following months. Its constitution, drafted by representatives from all member species, explicitly protected the rights of every sentient being. The Echo Fleet, which had brought the Council to its knees, was reformed into a peacekeeping force, its ships now protecting the very freedoms they had fought to establish. Park visited the memorial often after its completion. He would place his hand against its cool crystal surface, reading the names of those lost. Sometimes, he could almost hear Ambassador Han's voice, free, innovative, and unbound by their restrictive laws. The memorial became more than just a monument to the dead. It became a symbol of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest times, light could prevail. School children from 100 worlds would visit, learning the importance of standing together against tyranny. One evening, as the sun set behind the memorial, Park stood with President Lee and Delegate Min, watching the crystal structure change colors in the fading light. "Do you think we've built what they would have wanted?" Lee asked softly. Min's crystalline form pulsed gently. They dreamed of a galaxy where all species could live freely, where difference was celebrated rather than suppressed. "Yes, I believe we have honored their dream." Park touched the memorial one last time, feeling its smooth surface under his aged hand. "We delivered justice," he said quietly, "but more importantly, we delivered hope. The Council sought to break us by destroying our friends. Instead, they united the galaxy in ways they never imagined possible." As darkness fell, the memorial began to glow from within, each name shining like a star in the night sky. It stood as a testament to what had been lost, but also as a beacon of what had been gained, a new dawn for all species, united in their diversity, strong in their fellowship, and dedicated to ensuring that never again would tyranny threaten the peace they had built together among the stars. The galaxy had changed forever. Where once the Council had ruled through fear, now stood a federation of equals. Earth's warships, which had once carried vengeance, now protected the peace. And in the end, humanity had not just avenged their allies, they had fulfilled their greatest dream. A galaxy where all species could live freely under the light of distant stars.